Yes, guys, what's going on? Today, I'm going to walk you through all the things that you need to know before you come and visit or live in the Philippines. Now, before I get started, the reason why I'm making this video is indeed because I am actually currently in the Philippines. As you can see, this is Manila right behind me, and also in front of me, which I don't know if I'm going to show you because my phone might fall off of my tripod, but it's a massive city. In front of me there's also loads of buildings as well. Manila is a crazy big place. It's a sprawling urban development jungle. It's just a concrete jungle of stuff. I mean, there is a few trees around, but I don't know if you saw, but it's pretty much just buildings. So today I'm going to walk you through all the things that you need to know about the Philippines before you come here. Some of these things might be facts that you already know, and some of them might be facts that you don't know, because you're only going to know some of these things if you've actually been here, or if you know people that have been here, or if you watch a video like this. So before I get started, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so that you can get more videos like this suggested to you by YouTube. And also, if you do the notification bell, apparently YouTube will tell you when I upload more videos. Typically I talk about business, talk about travel, things like that. I got a business, I'm a digital nomad. If you click the links in the description below, you can see some of the things that we do. But today in this video, I'm just going to talk to you about the Philippines. So what do you need to know before you move here? Well, firstly, the Philippines has thousands of islands. If you don't even know what the Philippines is, it's in Southeast Asia, by the way. It's part of ASEAN. It's got thousands of islands. All the islands have different bits of culture. There's different languages or dialects. They all look different. The ways of life is different. It's a really interesting country, but it's just separated by water, because obviously it's like an archipelago. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing it right. But yeah, it's tons of different islands for you to visit. So right now I'm obviously in Manila. It just looks like a concrete jungle, but typically the Philippines is known for just being a tropical paradise. There's tons of different places you can go to: Boracay, Palawan, Siquijor. The list goes on, right? I could just keep reading them off, but I'm not going to do that because we're already 2.5 minutes into this video. The next thing that you're going to want to know before you move here is that the Philippines actually has heaps of volcanoes. There's one not far from Manila. I've never seen a volcano up close. I have no intention of ever actually going right up close to a volcano, although now that I'm talking about it, maybe I will do a video like that one day and show you guys what they look like. But there's heaps of them. Some of them are dormant, some of them might potentially erupt. I think they erupt quite often. I don't know, I'd have to do some research, but there's a lot of them, so I'm almost certain that throughout the year there's different volcanic eruptions. If you're in Manila, if you're in Cebu, some of these main places that I mentioned, especially if you look at some of the other videos on this channel, you're typically pretty safe. Usually the volcanoes are out there in the province. But like I said, there is one around here, probably like 2 hours out or something like that. Going to my next point, in the Philippines, particularly in Manila, you should know that if you live in Manila, it is filled with people. So there's like 25 million people that live here, give or take. Don't quote me on the numbers. The size of this city is massive. It's basically a mega city, so there's lots of mini cities inside Manila. And of course, as you can imagine, because there is so many people that live here, the traffic is ridiculous. So right now I'm in Makati, which is a more popular place to live, especially for expats, people on holiday. BGC is another place. Going between BGC and Makati is okay for travel. But if you want to get across the city, I mean, it's outrageous. I've not even traveled through this. It's just massive. I've not even gone through the whole city. I typically go from the airport to Makati and BGC. And around the airport, you've got Manila Bay. So you've got like the Mall of Asia there, which is another place that I visited. But typically that's really all that you need to be going to if you're going to visit Manila. It's just such a massive place. So that's something you should know. So another thing that you're going to want to know before you move or you visit the Philippines is that they are super religious. They're a Catholic or Christian country. In the south, they do have an Islamic uprising, I guess you can say. It's kind of like a civil war. It's been going on for a long time. Usually you're pretty safe from the dangers of that if you're in these main cities. You'll notice when you go to the Philippines, there's heaps and heaps of security at the apartment buildings that you're living in, at the shopping centers. It seems like it's a very dangerous country because there is so much security. But if you really think about it, the fact that there's so much security and security guards typically means that it's much more safer. So you're not really going to run into any crime usually in the daytime or anything like that. Maybe you'll get your phone stolen if you leave it on the table whilst you're eating, or if you leave it out, or if you're silly with it. But typically, nothing bad really happens during the day. Not obviously nothing worse than if you would like to travel around Europe or the UK or even the US. I mean, the US is obviously a dangerous place as well. Some of these Western countries. However, at night time, especially in Manila, you're going to want to be careful where you're actually going and what you're doing. Another thing you've got to know before you come here is that you should not, and I say this as seriously as possible, do not use the taxis. Only use Grab, because there has been so many stories, including one of myself, of people getting robbed by taxi drivers, and they do it in a variety of different ways. Sometimes they're tricky, sometimes it's just straight up using a knife or a gun or something to try and rob you. Luckily, I was safe in my situation, so nothing bad happened to me, but I unfortunately lost my iPhone. But it does happen often, okay? When I say I lost it, the guy took it from me. But anyway, I digress. It can be dangerous if you go to the wrong places. However, it's not like it's any more dangerous than one of these other countries that you probably live in, okay? And like I said, there's a lot of security here. If you're doing things in public or in daylight, you just look around and be aware of what's around you. Act smart when you're on holiday, or if you're traveling here, if you're living here, just like you would in your own country. Now, another thing you should know before you come here is that it's very easy to get visas. If you go to some of the other countries, pretty much any country you go to, it's very difficult to keep extending your visa. In Thailand, you can only do it once or twice, and then you have to leave. You've got to do border jumps or whatever it's called, visa hops. In the Philippines, you don't actually have to do that. So if you come here, typically you'll get a visa on entry. You can stay here for 30 or 60 days. And then if you need to extend, you just go to a place to extend your visa. You fill in some paperwork and they will extend it for you for a little bit of money. And then the next time you do that, assuming you don't leave the country, they'll extend it for longer. So the first time might be for 30 or 60 days that you extend it. And then if you go again, they'll extend it for 6 months. And then if you go again, you do it for a year. Another thing that they'll do here as well is if you decide to base yourself here for a little bit and you extend yourself, or you extend your visa a couple of times, they'll give you, I believe it's called an ACR card. I don't have it on me right now. It's in my suitcase somewhere. It's just an ACR card. It looks like kind of like a driver's license. It's got your picture on there, just says where you're from and things. And you can actually use that to like open bank accounts, get a driver's license and things like that. Not that I don't think really anyone here has a driver's license, to be perfectly honest with you, which is another thing that you should know before you come here. The driving here is crazy. I believe I'm a good driver, and I wouldn't want to drive here. If I lived here permanently, I probably wouldn't get a nice car, just because I would feel like people would scratch it, or I would scratch it, even though I'm a good driver, just because of the way people drive. It's almost like the lines in between the roads separating the left and the right don't actually matter. But it works. I haven't seen any accidents or anything like that. It's just the way that they drive here, completely different to Australia or the UK, or even I would imagine the US. Speaking of which, they drive on the right side of the road here as opposed to the left. So I grew up in Australia and the UK. I'm used to driving on the left. Over here, they drive on the right, because the Philippines used to be, I suppose you could say it used to be a colony of the US. It might not be the official term, but it was essentially a colony of first Spain. It was definitely a colony of Spain, and then the US took it over. Yeah, a long time ago. You can Google that, but that's why they drive on the right side of the road. I've already talked about how many people live here as well. Manila is probably the most populated city. There's a lot of traffic here, but if you go to some of these other cities, there's less traffic. So it just kind of depends on where you live. I think the country itself, I think there's like 125 million people that live in the Philippines, which is wild, because I mean, I grew up in both the UK and Australia. The UK's got, I think, about 70 million people now, give or take. Don't quote me on that. And Australia is like 23 million, 25 million. So just the size of this country in terms of population is very hard for me to comprehend. It's one of the most populated countries in Asia, for sure. I believe Indonesia is the most populated in Southeast Asia, at least. Obviously, China's got like 1 billion people. But yeah, there's a lot of people that live in the Philippines. Most of them are definitely congregating in the main cities. So you've got like Manila and Cebu, those are probably the two biggest ones. Then you have Davao, which is the third, and then you have like other areas like Boracay and Palawan. Another thing you should know is that most of the people you interact with from the Philippines, they grew up or they are from a province. Now, I'm not exactly sure how to explain what a province is. I essentially just think of it as somewhere outside of the city. So it's like a region or suburbs outside of the city. So most people come from provinces. I've never been to a province. I don't really have any intention of going there anytime soon. But if you like traveling and looking around, maybe you can go and visit someone's province or just go and check out the provinces. It's totally up to you. Now, in terms of business, Philippines is a growing country. All right, the population is surging. It's a young, growing population, which typically in some circles that means that the country is like an emerging market. It means it's going to be a bit of a power in Southeast Asia. So a lot of people compare the Philippines today as similar to like how Thailand was in the 2000s or the 90s. So Philippines is definitely on its way up. Just traveling around the different cities, you'll notice tons and tons of construction. So it's a country that is emerging. It's a country that is really coming into a world of its own. So there's a lot of people coming here, investing in the country. There's a lot of people moving here, a lot of expats, a lot of money to be made if you have a brain. If you've got a business brain, you can come here and absolutely kill it. I find personally it's very easy to meet the right people in the right circles. For some reason here, they love foreigners. However, not every foreigner has the same experience as me, but just from my experience, I've been able to meet, celebrities, people, government, big business owners, things like that, relatively easy compared to like in Australia or the UK or other places in the world. They just seem a little bit more open to meeting foreigners and making friends and networking here. It's a big networking culture, which I absolutely love about the country. And that's probably one of the reasons why it's become like basically a superpower in terms of BPOs, business process outsourcing. So a lot of these big companies you will know of, like JP Morgan, they all outsource a lot of their like call centers and customer support and things like that to the Philippines. If you come to Manila, these BPOs are literally everywhere. They've also got them in Cebu and Davao, but Manila, I think, must be the most BPOs just because of the size of the city. So a lot of people work in these BPOs because everyone speaks pretty good English, or at least most people speak good English. If you have an American accent, you'll have absolutely no problem speaking to people here. If you have a British accent, especially if you're from the north, you might struggle a little bit. But even me with a southern accent, I sometimes do realize that they don't understand me. I have to speak much slower, and it can be a little bit frustrating at times, but look, it's better than going to a country where no one speaks English, and at the end of the day, it's like a second language to them. So they're doing pretty good considering. I can't speak any other languages, so I definitely can't complain. Now, another thing a lot of people ask me is the food good in the Philippines? And I would say, honestly, that the food is tasty depending on what you order. I love lechon. I love adobo. However, the food is not healthy. So if you like going to the gym, if you are concerned about your health and your fitness and things like that, it's quite hard to find good food here. What I found is that there is a food spot here called, I think it's called Kenny Rogers Roasters, where you can get good chicken. You can find some of the Middle Eastern or Mediterranean or Israeli restaurants where they just do like nice, healthy meat and rice and salads and things like that. But yeah, unfortunately, the food here is not the healthiest. So when I first got here, I actually got a little bit sick because I'm used to eating much healthier food. However, if you live here, you can, of course, buy your own food and cook your own food and do it that way. You can even hire someone to do it. It's relatively cheap to hire your own chef, your own cleaner, things like that. That's one of the great things about the Philippines is that it is cheap to do pretty much anything you want. And you can get pretty much anything you want for that reason. So it's not a big deal. It just means that you have to come here and find where those food places are or figure out your food situation. I love going to the gym. I go almost daily. So, finding a good gym for me was definitely a bit of a challenge, and finding good food to eat so that I can achieve my fitness goals was also a bit of a challenge. But since I've been here for a certain period of time, I've kind of figured everything out. So that's pretty much everything you need to know before you come to the Philippines. I apologize. I didn't reel it off in a nice video, number 1, number 2, number 3, and rank it. I just thought I'd rant about it and give you guys the lowdown because I didn't really plan this video out at all. So if you enjoyed it, please like it, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And don't forget to click the links in the description below if you're looking for some help growing your business with video content. If you're a video editor and you want to join a community of other video editors learning how we use AI to build YouTube channels, how to create advertisements, how to grow people's businesses, click the links in the description below this video. And of course, if you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my very best to answer them. Keep watching the next videos coming out. If you haven't seen the ones before, I'm doing a bit of a series on the Philippines, so go check those out and click the notification bell so that you can get an update when I release the next video in the series. I'm doing like a bit of a Philippines series. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one.